So there are a lot of reasons to be pessimistic about the future right now. There are wars, and climate change, and natural disasters, rising authoritarianism, and AI, and pandemics, and that's just to name a few. When life confronts us with so many interconnected crises, each one of which we're individually powerless to address, it's natural to want to give up. Surrender to fate, let things run their course, get yours, and withdraw from society and all its anxieties. I get that. Between the ages of 9 and 12, my brother died in a bike accident. My childhood home burned down. One parent fell into depression. The other developed a frightful addiction. My dog got ran over. My best friend moved away. And I'll just say that's not a complete list. I went from an idyllic childhood to losing every good thing in my life in the course of a couple of years. So I retreated into solitude. I gave up on the future. And I lived, somehow, but with no expectation that things would or could ever be good again. Yet live I did. Through years of loneliness, loss, and rejection, something inside me remained not just unbroken, but unbreakable. I lost my family, my home, my friends, and my future, but hope remained, and the love endured. And though it took many, many years, I did eventually find my way back to the land of the living, though truth be told, my wife probably deserves most of the credit for that. So that's why I can tell you today that I will always, always, always be hopeful. There's nothing man or God could ever do to take that from me. I know because they tried. So I'm not going to offer you a bunch of statistics and facts today about why things aren't as bad as they seem. Those are out there if you want to go looking for them. And I'm not going to give you a list of reasons to be hopeful either, because hope is not a reasonable thing. Real hope has nothing to do with the expectation that good things are going to come our way. It's not wishful thinking. It's not happy fantasies or thinking that we can make good things happen just by wanting them bad enough. And hope has nothing to do with waiting for heroes or saviors or politicians or billionaires to come along and solve our problems. I'm not hopeful because the future looks bright. I'm actually quite certain that the struggles in the coming years and decades are going to ask more of us than we knew we had to give. There will be more extinctions, climate emergencies, wars, famines, water shortages, pollution, and attacks on freedom, truth, justice. But I'm still hopeful, because at its root, hope is nothing more or less than the will to persist regardless of the circumstances. Hope is not a feeling, it's a decision to engage the world as it is with open arms. Because help isn't coming, we are on our own. And you know what that means? It means that we get to be the heroes of this story. We get to be the ones who save the day. And we don't need to go looking for hope to sustain or motivate us, because hope is something we create, and it's something we create together. And it also has nothing to do with the enormity of the challenges we face, and has nothing to do with how slim our odds of success may be. It's the clarity and the peace of mind that come from fighting the good fight, giving it your all, and finding meaning in the struggle. In the words of poet, author, and Czechoslovakian president Václav Havel, hope is not the conviction that something will turn out well, but the certainty that something makes sense regardless of how it turns out. If you're wondering how I can be hopeful in times like these, it's because I refuse not to be. To be hopeful is my choice, and no one can take that from me, not by legislation, manipulation, or violence. Now, remember how I said I wouldn't give you a list of reasons to be hopeful? I lied. But I wanted to make the point that hope isn't about the state of the world that we're living in. Rather, the reasons I'm going to give you have to do with the nature of hope itself. So, why am I hopeful? Because hope is a self-fulfilling prophecy. If we truly believe that better days lie ahead, we'll act in ways that make that better future not just possible, but inevitable. By being hopeful, we move toward the victories that justify having been hopeful in the first place. It's almost like a reverse causality. Fear works this way too, unfortunately. The more we obsess about the end of democracy or the loss of nature or the possibility of nuclear war, the more we expect a dismal and hopeless future, and the more we resign ourselves to that, the more we'll act in alignment with that vision and bring it into being. So I'm hopeful not because I think good times are coming, but because without hope they can't and they never will. We manifest the world we dream of. Hope isn't waiting for a better future, it's the first step we take to create one. Why am I hopeful? Because I want to live with dignity. Hope for me means clinging to truth in a world of lies, honoring my principles in a world that holds nothing sacred, and fighting for what's right even when it's completely futile. It's having the courage to choose love in the face of destruction. As author and Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl once wrote, we should keep our courage in the certainty that the hopelessness of our struggle does not detract from its dignity and its meaning. So standing your ground in the face of impossible odds can seem a lot like self-destruction. Yet, such is the crucible where heroes are born. Fearless resolve is the essence of human nobility and dignity. A meaningful life is not built from easy victories, but only from the worthiness of the fights we choose to fight. The pain of struggle can never match the pain that comes from betraying our beliefs or forsaking what we know to be sacred and true. But there is great peace in knowing that while we were here, we spoke our truth, stood our ground, and gave it our all. That is how you have a life without regrets. Why am I hopeful? Because no one knows what tomorrow will bring. You may have heard the Chinese parable about the farmer who lost his only horse. His farm absolutely depended on the animal, and his neighbors were sure that the farmer must be devastated. But when they talked to him about it, he would only reply, "We'll see." The next day, the horse returned, and it brought with it several more wild horses, making the farmer one of the wealthiest people in his village. And the neighbors celebrated his good fortune, but he would only reply, again, "We'll see." The next day, the farmer's son was attempting to tame one of the new wild horses, and he got thrown off and broke his leg. And the farm would struggle horribly without his labor, and the neighbors bemoaned the farmer's terrible luck. But the farmer only replied, "Yeah, we'll see." The next day, the local lord and his army marched into town, conscripting every young man to fight in the coming battle, where many would surely die. The farmer's son, however, was spared because of his injury. The neighbors again praised the farmer's great fortune, but he only replied, "We'll see." So we'll see. Sometimes looking out into the world with all its problems feels like we're watching helplessly while the forest burns to ashes. But you know what? Even forest fires prepare the ground for new life. In time, we too may find that the destruction we're living through is not so much an ending as it is the destruction of a seed that cracks to make way for the sprout, or the caterpillar that dissolves to form a butterfly, or the raging storm that slakes the land's thirst. What if all this madness is an essential step on the path to a more just and sustainable future? What if this rupture is like the pain and violence of childbirth, or a volcano ripping apart the very earth to create new lands? Or a star exploding to create the elements necessary to form new life? Hope is accepting suffering as a necessary step in our evolution, and it's how we redeem a broken world. Why am I hopeful? Because I'm a dad, and my hope is indistinguishable from my love I have for my children. Each one of us is a thread in life's great tapestry. The dreams of our ancestors realized and the memories of our descendants to be. That's what we are. To turn our backs on this larger story that we're all a part of is to renounce the meaning of our existence. Even if you're not a parent, to give up hope is to break life's promise and to incur a debt beyond measure. Are we really going to give up on the world of our children and our grandchildren? Should we bring the kids back in here and tell them, sorry, it's too hard. You're not worth it. We give up. Hell no. Forget that. This world does not belong to me or to you or to anybody in this room. This life is not my life. It belongs to our children, to their children, and all the generations of living things yet to come. As we have received the gifts of those who came before us, we owe our descendants a better world than the one we were given. That's why we're here. Why am I hopeful? Because of you. How can I be here with all of you and not feel hopeful? How could I possibly look at those beautiful, shining children and not be excited about their future? How can I, knowing the love of which we're capable, not say yes to life? The future looks bleak, but I'm so in love with this life and this world and the things that live upon it. And that's enough to carry me safely through vast oceans of hopelessness and dread. I'll say it again, hope isn't waiting for good things to happen. It's knowing that together we can make good things happen. It's having the faith in ourselves to do the work that needs to be done. And it's the knowledge and the trust that when one of us falters, the others will pick up the slack and keep going. Hope thrives in community. And as communities go, I've never known a better one than this one right here. In the days ahead, when it all feels like too much to handle all alone, this sanctuary will be waiting to take you in and to hold you and to restore you. So one last time, why am I hopeful? I'm hopeful because I'm alive. It feels crass to pin down a concept like hope with a nice, tidy definition. But one conception of hope I find useful is this. Hope is choosing life over and over in spite of everything. Like a sprout that pushes through ashes to find the sun. In this sense, hope is nothing less than our will to live. So if there's love in your heart, hell, if there's blood in your heart, then there is hope there too. I can't promise you a better tomorrow. Life is always full of disappointment and struggle. But whatever comes, life will prevail. Beauty will prevail, and truth will prevail. And knowing that to be true is the hope I want to give you today. Thank you so much for being here today and listening. I hope you'll now join me in our closing hymn, There is More Love Somewhere.